Revolution from Your Bed, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome aboard, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for the amazing emails and messages on social media. I'm hearing a lot about how this podcast resonates with some people's life, and I'm so excited about it. It's so funny that even my branding and social media advisor, which is one of my closest friends, told me that we should focus more efforts on the branding around the podcast because people really liked it. And I'm really thrilled. It's not everything I'm doing, but I'm so happy I could help people. I want to talk about something today that is very close to my heart. As part of you may have known, my bachelor degree subject was science education, and I've always been fascinated with empowering people, helping people advance and reach new frontiers. And the topic of education in general, of bettering the human's experience, is something that I've always been fascinated with. And in the last 10 years or so, a lot about online training, online courses, living the vision of open online universities in which the actual human development happens in a workshop setting. But most of the studies, the massive courses, let's say those Math 101 or those courses you have 200, 300 people in one class, I think that it's kind of sometimes even useless to sit in the same hall or arena or auditorium and listen to the lecturer from like 50 meters away. I always thought that basically we have the technology today to change things, and that's the reason I really love the University of the People. And I myself are planning to do my master's in the University of the People, and I need to make a huge decision whether I'm doing an MBA, since I'm involved with several businesses, or another degree in teaching and education, just because it's interesting to me. I'm not actively doing it, but it's an area of fascination for me. The question I want to raise today, because I get a lot of comments about it, is college useless? And this is such an interesting topic. I don't think it's a yes and no question, by the way, and I'm not the kind of person to engage in clickbaiting. I think that there is something very interesting happening here. We have this new wave of people basically looking at the numbers or at the evidence showing that they are some famous college dropout who certainly made it big, like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and those geniuses that would probably make it anyway. I don't say that we need college, bear with me for a second. I'm just saying that the argument is still bringing those top, 10 people in their field that didn't graduate. I think that when we talk about college, we need to realize for a second, first of all, where we are in the world. Like, it's very different if somebody from Israel that been to the army and start his life around the age of 24, 25 will ask me the question, or if somebody is 18 years old and is living in the States and his family has to now take a loan that will basically commit their financials for life just to return this money, or somebody who is living in Germany or in Europe and yeah, it's free and they can try. And what I see in Europe is something very interesting. We see a massive abuse of higher education. We see a massive abuse of higher education because people are doing something amazing. They're actually using the education system and they say, if it's free, I'm going to try it. But it's so hard to graduate because people just start, oh, I heard that anthropology is interesting. Let's enroll into an anthropology degree. And then they do a course or two and say, oh, maybe it's not for me. And then they dropped out or leave to another course. And you see it also in master degrees. And this is a pity because the education is either free or very, very, very affordable. You know, it can be a few €100 a year, a few $100 a year, or maybe $1,000 a year, that even if you have financial issues, usually the college or the university can help you. And I think that this abuse is very bad for the universities. And I would actually offer another way. You have it in Eastern Europe, and in some country you have some sort of general year that you do some courses and you get the credits anyway, and then you decide in the second year exactly what your specialty. I think there is a huge difference if you're 18 and you don't really know what you want to do. And I don't expect somebody, unless it was your lifelong dream, to be like a lawyer or a doctor or one of those longer tracks. It can be expected. But on the other hand, would we just foster, like they do in the States, very, very general education? So you want to educate people, but then you have them pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for this general education. And I say, no, this is wrong. I think that, of course, if you can make 4 times more than what you invested in your education, or 5 times over a period of the same time that you study, or let's say like 5 years or so on. Some people would argue even for 10 years. And then I say, okay, that might be the case. That can work maybe. But if you're going to study something completely general that you don't know what's your hiring options afterwards, I'm not sure. And then people ask me, yes, Roy, but you always say that you love this humanities studies, and you talk about the fact that Google and other companies are saying that they will hire graduates no matter what because they retrain them anyway. And then I say, yes, of course I'm for it. But isn't it even more funny that you go to college to be generally educated, but the university basically failed to educate you? Or maybe you get some education, but you don't get any skills for life. And this is the place to argue, is this the university's job to really prepare you for life? Because schools definitely don't do it. Like, it's rarely, maybe in Finland and Sweden and countries like this, you have anything remotely close to house economics or actual professional, or dealing with insurance, or dealing with legal stuff, or dealing with actual daily life. Because school, the entire arguments around the education and schooling system is that we actually are making people ready for the real life, but we all know it's wrong. We all know that basically schools are giving very, very low level of education, if I'm talking average around the world, even high school level. And this education usually has very little to do with real life. And I will stress that with today's information age, you should leave high school with something that will probably gonna be like 1 or 2 years in college in previous years. And you should leave with a practical skill. I think in general that any university should teach soft skills with the same importance as academics. I think that everybody should learn how to publicly speak. Everybody should learn how to network. Everybody should know how to storytell and brand themselves. And yes, some people would say, yes, but I want to be hired. I don't want to be an entrepreneur, a sole entrepreneur, or start a startup. I want to be hired. But even if you're hired, nobody prepares you for a job interview. Maybe in America, you have those college counselors in high schools, working with high schools. So you make a lot of effort to getting into college. So every school, you just work on getting to the next school, and then you get to college. And many people do not go to graduate school. And then what? And then you're not really ready for the actual physical world. I even stress that in a lot of degrees, the profession that you study is really, 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 really remotely even related to what you have to do. And I hear it a lot from teachers. I hear it a lot for even, you know what, maybe in medicine it's a bit different. You're not really ready. You have to do a lot of experience on the field, but usually you're supervised in one way or another. In teaching is just horrible. In a lot of places around the world, you have training for 3 or 4 years, and then basically you don't really know what to do in class, and a lot of others. So should we do only professional education or technical education? Listen, guys, I'm all for enhancing hireability skills. And with today's world that you can study online, like a nano degree on Udacity or other websites like Coursera or edX, you can study like 5-6 courses, and basically you can be hired by a major high-tech company. This is amazing, but it's usually tend to people who already been to college and they cannot really find themselves in the professional world. But we see a new wave right now, especially among millennials, that they really don't want to go to college because they think it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And why shouldn't I just take half a year or a year and do professional training online or offline in a cool college? Or you have amazing experience like in Israel, you have this startup called Jolt, they're working now in the UK and soon in the US and so on. And like you can get your entire professional training in one place based on kind of subscription and keep on this life learning process thing. And we're going to see more and more places like this. And I think that if the universities are not going to catch up, they're going to be in a problem. Because if I were to be a young millennial or Y a kind of, or X generation right now, and those guys, like they leave high school or later they leave the military service or the civil service, depends where they live. And then they say like, I don't want this crap. Like, unless I need to go to study medicine or architecture or something like this, like, or law, why shouldn't I just train myself online? Or if I want to be an entrepreneur, you basically in like 6 months, you can do enough online courses. You can go to Skillshare and Udemy and do other things. You can do your alternative MBAs. There are so many programs like this that teaches you actually what you need to know. And many people stress that MBA is basically useless. Or at least if the MBA is not useless, at least bachelor degree regarding any business administration or analysis or so on. For me, personally, I went to school because I needed to leave bed. I had a purpose. I wanted to go back to school. I knew I cannot start medical school right away, and I wanted to go back to medical school. And then I got a scholarship because I said, let's do pre-med. And I was offered to do basically kind of a biohealth, kind of something that it's more related to human biology bachelor, but the catch was that I had to do a teacher certificate. And I didn't really want to do it, not because I didn't like it. Like I've been instructor in the Red Cross, and I did a lot of education since I was 15 myself, or even less. But there is a very bad reputation for teacher and teaching, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor, so I took it because it was kind of a free pre-med. And then I discovered something amazing, that education, it's basically the opposite of medicine. If healthcare is like, if doctors or healthcare in general, it's like firefighting, is just like, oh, you have a symptoms, we need to put it off. Education is trying to do something completely different, like at least the spirit of education, the philosophy behind it. They're trying to basically do something amazing, and they're trying to basically prevent poverty, prevent crime, prevent people to get into places they life they don't want to be in. And it's amazing because you go to this college, to this information session, and then you hear these amazing numbers about how many people are in prison. Specifically, it was numbers about Israel. And I remember this staggering number that 63% of all inmates were with severe learning disabilities. And there were some studies being done, especially I think it was a PhD work, that says something amazing basically in the results, that probably an early intervention by teachers, not even by other professionals, in probably early age, probably let's say elementary school, would probably take these people on a different track in their lives, because they've always felt outsiders. They felt frustrated because they cannot keep up at school. Eventually, with other, of course, circumstances and socioeconomical situations, they ended up in crime. Isn't it amazing that like more than half or the majority of all inmates in Israel could have been out of prison and leading a normal lives just because the education system failed to prevent it? And then I decided, oh my God, I have to go and study this, because if I have enough knowledge about biology and human biology and education, maybe I can do health education and health prevention. Isn't it amazing? So I'm sitting there after not really wanting to do it, because it was, not my major dream, but I was already feeling a bit better mid my rehabilitation. I had this, 7 months to go back to school, because if you set a goal, it's much easier. Of course that on the first day of school I wasn't completely healthy. One of my lessons was on the 3rd floor, and I was stupidly enough, I wanted to hide my illness from people because I was ashamed of it, so I didn't ask to be in a lower classroom, and it took me like half an hour to get there, and then the class was ruined for me. Those 3 hours of workshop, I had chest pains and I had a pulse attack. But before that, I had to step into the school gates, right? So I went to this information session, I heard this amazing story, and I had this idea, we can prevent stuff. And then I said, I'm gonna dedicate my life to health education, which is amazing, and I did a lot of projects in the matter, but then I realized life is even more complicated than that, and it's very hard to change human behavior, and it took me years to get into this more empowerment and core changes of habits and behaviors, and this is where I am right now. But education is amazing. Education has a lot of power. But should we say that if you go to college, you're educated, if you go to like a professional training, you're trained, and if you go to this amazing self-empowering, self-developing programs, you're a better person? Not sure. I think everything is a big mix, and I think that my ideal training would be something actually like I had in college. I was so lucky because the program I chose is very special. It's not a regular teacher training program. It's basically a special program by the Israeli Democratic Institution that they do a lot of democratic and progressive education work and across cities and schools around Israel, and they did something pretty amazing. They think that teachers should basically undergo a process that is very similar to what the clinical psychologists or therapists are going through. You need to really delve into yourself for 2 or 3 years and really knows who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and then only then step into classroom. They cannot imagine you come to the classroom and have some sort of a negative charge in you. Step into the classroom when you're angry or not feeling well enough, and because words of a teacher can break a kid or make it. Like really, they can break somebody's life or make somebody's life. I still hang on, and it took me years to get over it. Those sentences saying that I had very good grades, or really okay grades, everything except for math, because probably we didn't know back then I had some sort of a learning disability with math and lack of proper training in math. And I had a teacher who constantly used to tell me in high school that the best I can do is be a grocery shop worker or this, open market, like farmer market selling vegetables worker. And for her, I have to say, this is like shame on you, because eventually many of your students reach really, really high places, even when you talk to them like this. But to this gentle soul of a child or a teenager, that every word may matter. Yes, so teachers are really important, and education is super important. And if I go back to university training, my university training is just exceptional, because it wasn't just going to school, study about biology. You had a lot of field work in biology, the things I could do with my disability, but you had a lot of experimental things about yourself. This workshopping part is amazing. And I remember I had a conversation with the president of our college, the college I study at, the Kibbutzim College of Education, and she said something amazing. She said that she dreamed that in 10 years, most of the studies will be conducted online. All those mass studies, like I said before, will be conducted online, and people will come to college to do workshops and to enhance, as it's her words, the human experience. So it's a beautiful mission for the Kibbutzim College in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and I think for every other college, that no matter what you teach, if you focus on developing the professional training, the actual identity of the person, you will be a better professional. And I find it so sad that you have such a segregation today, and everything is so apart from each other. Like, you go to university because you have to have this stupid paper saying you have a BA or BEd or B Science, and then you need to retrain yourself. You go to a workplace and then you never studied really how to do project management, even if you studied it kind of in university, because nobody is really teaching you how to do it. You never studied product management, you never studied social media, you never studied things that you really need to do. So you have to retrain yourself in the first 2-3 years, make shitty salaries, and really learn by yourself how to do. So universities became kind of this certificate. You have to do it. It's like high school. You have to do it because otherwise you may be in trouble. I'm not excluding a situation in which people will want to drop soon from high schools too, because they feel it's completely useless. I've been working in my startups. I've been mentoring in one of the national programs for startups in Serbia, and I used to fly in there every few months and do it. And one of my startup they were high schoolers, 3 high schoolers, and they have enough knowledge in high school already, so they can make shit tons of money and have their own startup and work in a big company or small company or whatever they want to do, just by teaching themselves programming. Do they really need high school? Not so much, because it's a cultural thing and their parents keeping them in high school, they stayed. But those kids who knows computer skills and programming, or even social media or product management or whatever, we have a lot of people. We have creators, we have content creators that they make money already when they're really young. What's the value? So for me, the value is social. The value is social because I think that I learned much more about myself from the workshopping and the social part, and me taking part in the student union. I wanted to practice project management and do a social change. I learned more about life and work and what I need to do from outside of the classroom than inside of the classroom. Of course, there is a room for anything. And I don't say that education is useless, but I think that eventually all those beautiful biological courses, I can sum up my thousands of hours of college to maybe an hour that I can say that I remember those amazing quotes that really stays with you. And there are some extracurricular courses in self-development and so on that you really take with you. But eventually, I think that college education must change. I cannot say here that college is completely useless, but I will say this: in today's climate and economical climate, it's going to be very, very hard for non-professional degrees to attract students unless they do something amazing. And I think the solution will be to have a solid thinker education, because I believe that any school to teach you three things, no matter like if it's like primary school, you need to learn to read and write, you need to learn how to learn yourself, and you need to learn critical thinking. As young as you are, probably you need more skills, you need more language skills and so on. But if you teach a person how to study, if you give him a pole, he could fish for himself, he can feed himself. But if you just give him fishes or feed him with spoons, it's not going to work. And that's what we're doing with educational systems around the world. I think that it should be a combination of learning how to think, learning how to learn, learning how to basically make it in the real world, and really empower you as a person to discover what you want to do. One of my closest friends and mentor, Professor Mel Rosenberg, you should follow this guy. He's a children's book author, he's an inventor, he's a college professor, he's an amazing human being, and he's one of my greatest mentors in life. And I remember I was a teaching assistant with him in the college. We used to work together in Tel Aviv, and I was sitting in the classroom, and he did something amazing. This guy has a university course called How to Be Awesome. It's really amazing. You should Google him, Professor Melvin Rosenberg. And he just asked the students, there wasn't too many of them, I think it was 20 students in this small classroom, how much do you want to earn in 5 years? And those students are about to graduate from college. And this college is a very professional college. It's a design and engineering. Everybody finished with a sort of profession there. And people, even though it's Israel, it's not a poor country, it's kind of a rich country, super developed, OECD, so on. And people make shit tons of money in startups and high tech. But those people who knew how much they can earn, the answer were like, I'm going to make $2,000 a month. I'm going to make the craziest amount was, somebody says, around $4,000. And then Mel asked them, it's a dream kind of scenario. Nobody says I want to make $10,000, $50,000 a month. And of course, it's not about the money. I don't like this uber capitalism and the way sometimes in the US it's all about the money in the educational system. I'm talking about as a mind exercise here, because he told them, hey guys, nobody thought about making more money. And then they say, yeah, I don't know how to do it. I think that sometimes I Googled, there's this Glassdoor, all this website. I know how much people are supposed to earn, but I'm just a student. I'm just this. I don't have any experience. When I leave school, when I leave college, I have to retrain myself because nothing is probably really useful in my college education. And it was astonishing to me. I took this with me and I said, it's not about the money, it's about where you're going to be in 5 years. And nobody says, yeah, I'm going to have my own startups and I'm going to have 10 people working for me and we're going to sell the company in $2 million, making huge impact on society. Nobody said, even the designers there, I'm going to make designs and art that's going to affect millions of people. And yes, on the way, I'm going to make $10,000 a month. It's so hard for us to think how much we're worth and what the impact we're going to do after college, because nobody is preparing us for anything. And courses like Mel's, what they're trying to do is to challenge your perceptions and kind of beliefs about yourself and what you can do, because you can be amazing. And not everybody is probably meant to be entrepreneurs. Somebody asked me, yeah, you can teach everybody to be an entrepreneur. I can teach you skills and mistakes that I've made, but some people are going to be the best employees ever, really. You cannot have a startups with 5 people who want to have their own startups, because nobody basically is going to drive to the cause. But some people are going to be the best marketing officer, the best sales officer, the best and it's okay. They're going to thrive under these circumstances of having this frame around them and system around them, which is amazing. And I think very early on in life, we understand if we are more self-sufficient entrepreneurials or if we are very good in teams and we need some sort of directions. And I think everybody should explore all of the options, being a sole entrepreneur, being a regular entrepreneur, being social entrepreneur, being employed. And I think it's very humbling to be employed in some, maybe, don't take my words for it, but demeaning job that people look down at you. I flipped burgers because I wanted to have a bike license, a motorcycle license when I was 15, 16. So I flipped burgers. I used to come back home smelling so bad of oil that Like my mom asked me to take off my clothes and put them in a bag sometimes, because it was so horrible. And like, I know people who work for supermarkets, and I did a lot of jobs just to experience, and because I had a goal, and when I could, of course, when I was healthier and younger. And I think you should do a very humbling job at least once in your life. Like, everybody should be a waiter, probably. You learn a lot from it. It's the only thing I think I didn't do, but I think everybody should be a waiter, and everybody should at least work in this restaurant or kind of entertainment world. Entrepreneurial looks very different when you have to actually tend to people's every little needs, like a glass of water, and to serve them. But I think eventually the way to know if you need to go to college or not, of course I'm not telling you to completely break the hearts of your parents, is basically to understand really what do you want to do. And this is the main question. And I think there's a lot of resources online, and I'm going to publish a course online soon called Revolution from Your Bed course, and other courses that are coming up, trying to help people also to figure out what they want to do. Because I don't think any education is a waste of time, any training. If you're gonna go to, I don't know, Mexico and do a scuba diving course and only use it 3 times in your life, you still have skills, you still have life-saving knowledge, you still have an amazing expansion of the mind, and horizons. I think that if we look at this, every training is useful, but if you commit for 3 or 4 years, especially if you have to pay so much money, I really want you to think. And in Israel, for most people, I tell them, if you can do something that will get you immediately into the high-tech sector, that's awesome, because many companies still are old-fashioned about it and they want to have this degree. But most people, if you're self-sufficient, if you're a self-starter, if you're autodidact, if you can teach yourself a lot of things, especially if you can teach yourself how to program or do anything that is more digital nomadsy stuff. There are a lot of online educational programs you can do as part-time if you need the college and you want the college education. And I know a lot of people in Israel, they do an army course in programming, so they immediately get hired. They don't need a degree, but then they do a computer science or other kind of night schooling. They do a degree, make a degree just to expand themselves, just to maybe make more money at work and so on. But I think that today's world is all about soft skills, what used to be called soft skill, but basically these human expansion skills, everything you need to know to really get along in this new world that we live in. Guys, we're in Corona. The people who weren't prepared to live their life and make their business online are really suffering right now. In Israel, we have 1 million or more than 1 million unemployed people because people weren't prepared for it. I started to do stuff online long ago, but I must say that I flew so much to give talks and to train and so on, and for my startups, that I couldn't finalize the process, and I paid a price for it. So I'm not sure that this is the last pandemic or disaster we're going to see. So I think that everything you can do digitally from afar is amazing. You have places like the University of the People that you can really, really cheaply, or even get a scholarship for free, have a very solid education. You can do it part-time, and in the meantime, study something that can really push you forward. I really like ideas like Jolt. Jolt.io is a really cool Israeli company. I know the founder, they do an amazing job, and they take people like me, not only like university professor, people like me that are kind of, cool at what they're doing or expert in the field or knows how to teach, and they basically teach you everything you need to know that will really help you in today's modern world. They call it the school of the 21st century, and there are a lot of other cool projects that aim to empower you, but eventually all the tools are in a finger press away from you. You just need to choose. I'm not saying go to college or not go to college, but I want you to think about it before. If you have a lifelong dream of a professional required college, of course. If you don't have a lifelong dream, you should think about what can make you happy in life, and we will talk a lot about it in other episodes in my book and my YouTube videos. What can make you happy? What can bring you really the joyful of getting up in the morning? Like this morning, I woke up, I kissed my girlfriend, I made her coffee, helped her with the things she needed to do before she went to work, and I was so thrilled to record this episode/video, because for me, it's like a deliverance what I'm doing to empower you guys. So just think about what you want to do. and think about the fact that you really don't have to take student loan and go to debt. I know that there's a lot of pressure, especially in the States, to go to college like everybody else. But yes, I think that if you take a half a year off, go to travel and take a small loan, a few $1,000s, and you go and do programs like the Mind Valley program, I think you get 10 times more than probably what you get in college. Or going to the University of the People, pay like $2,000 or $4,000 for a bachelor, for an entire degree, and do something in the meantime. Go to your community college, do 2 years and then complete it in another place. Like, work, do something, really educate yourself, read books. It's not about this. I know you're 18 maybe and you want the college experience, and I wanted it too, and I had it only when I was 28. But guys, this is a different world than what our parents grew up in. This is a completely different world. It's getting easier and harder and crazier. You need to think about your own future and how do you bring yourself forward in the first ever generation of self-empowerment. You are the first humans on this planet to have all the tools to reach unimaginable feats, unimaginable horizons, and you can do everything that you want. I got out of bed, I taught myself how to walk and how to talk again and how to go back to the living, and then I started startups and charities that I still keep on doing stuff, even though on paper I cannot work a day in my life. And of course my life is harder because I have a very debilitating chronic illness, but I did it because I believed in my own powers, and you have all the tools. So research. Again, I'm gonna summarize it up. Jolt.io, University of the People, Google Mel Rosenberg, and there are a lot of other projects you should think about. I'm going to link some things below in my YouTube and whatever I can in the podcast episode summary. I want you to comment wherever you can about this subject. It's a very charged subject. People are very angry about it. Do we need college? Do we don't need college? We have thousands of videos on it. But what I want to say is very simple. You need to think before you do anything, and think about what will make you happy, what will make you not only happy, because some people are not fortunate enough to even search for happiness at the moment, but what will really make you feel that you're doing something and you have a purpose in life. And for this, I want to say that it's an endless journey and it's only the beginning. Guys, thank you for joining us today. It's the first episode in the second season. I'm trying to focus this second season and to combine it also with my weekly YouTube video. So it's not only going to be a complete 30 minutes or so of a YouTube of me talking in the podcast. I'm just recording this podcast for our YouTube viewers. My microphone, you cannot see it on the frame, but it's here, and my laptop is here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick for the same subject every week for my YouTube video and for my podcast. I want to improve. I want to know if you want to hear more other people from my internet community or other leaders in their field that regarding your self-empowerment and revolution from your own bed. And I want to know if I'm doing well enough, and let me know if I can improve in any way. And I can't even wait to see you next week. Bye.